All of this data is being collected for a reason. The reason is to know our customers better. The reason to know our customers better is that so we can be better marketers. We know what's relevant to them. That makes us more efficient in our marketing. We've invested, years and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into this customer data, and we've yet to really see ROI from it. So we have these APIs that are going back into the data warehouse, and they are providing conversion data from channels. And now instead of, some centralized vendor building features, we have Marketing Cloud where we're building apps. Data in and of itself is not enough. Numbers are not enough. Metrics are not enough.
Hello everyone, I am Sergio Maldonado and this is Masters of Privacy, a set of interviews covering the intersection of marketing, data, privacy and technology with a clear goal in mind, which is redefining the relationship between people, brands and media around transparency and control. Which is to say, we're aiming for real customer centricity, or if you will, human centricity. We regularly talk to DPOs, CMOs, CDOs, and whoever else we find interesting and able to share valuable insights. So we hope you like it. Please do reach out if you have any ideas on future topics or speakers. Okay, Jonathan Mendez has been a founder and leader in Adtech and Martech for 2 decades, with a focus on building first-party data products to optimize media performance. He is the founder and CEO at Neuralift AI. He spent 5 years building composable CDPs, so customer data platforms, for global retail brands and telcos, as well as being founder and CEO of Yieldbot, which in 2016 was the 4th largest digital advertising network after Google, Facebook, and Yahoo. Quite a feat. He was also once the CSO at Offermatica, which many of us knew back then as one of the first cloud-based tools for A/B testing, well before it got acquired by Omniture and then eventually becoming part of Adobe. Anyway, last week with Haiti SaaS, we touched on the risks inherent in using AI-driven MarTech tools, especially when vendors are not transparent as to which foundation models they're using, how those are trained, and so on. Today, with Jonathan, we're looking at the bright side of AI-powered MarTech, in the sense that provided that the basic principles are respected, this could be the answer to doing more in terms of business outcomes with less data, or data that has been de-identified, so less risky. And I think that's a very promising prospect. In any case, to get to that analysis, we will first look at the entire spectrum of first-party data technologies like CDPs, including the idea of composability, which we have already discussed here before, or clean rooms. We've had a few interviews about them here as well, and the concept of zero copy as an important privacy and security safeguard these days. We're also going to debate decision-making when it comes to onboarding, buying these technologies, or whether CIOs are retaking some budgets from CMOs. Eventually, we will land on AI-driven marketing insights and also on what Neuralift are doing to build on that promise. Let's go for it. Jonathan, thanks for joining me.
My pleasure.
Okay, let me start here. What was it that first excited you about the CDP?
So I've always been building data products with first-party data, first in e-commerce. So when you're building a website, of course, all of the data and analytics you're collecting is about people, is events on those sites. And then I got into technology for A/B testing and targeting and personalization using first-party data. So insight, recommendations, things of that nature, testing checkout flows. First-party data has always been, I've seen the ability of it to influence and help brands convert people to customers or sell more than they might have sold otherwise. So, uh, knowing the power of first party data for marketing, seeing the CDP and this ability to take data sets from all these different tools, from your A/B testing tool, from your email tool, from your site personalization, from analytics, and from transactions, which is incredibly important, and bring those together into a table where it's deduped. So we are resolving identity now across those different tools to a single row in a table with an ID, and collecting all of these attributes and behaviors and events about our customers, all of which are first party data. To have that table to me was and still is the lifeblood, the gold standard, the source of truth. Many names for any brand and any business that interacts directly with customers. Most of my background is in B2C, so um, it's and of course those use cases now, once you have that, and what you can do with that data, are tremendous. And that is the holy grail, to now be able to have and see events across all the media touch points that are out there with consumers, to start to understand how your marketing is working, what you should be doing, what strategies you should be taking. So this was revolutionary, and still is. And that was why, for me, I fell in love with CDP.
So then over time, you have been commenting on composability. We had Tejas Manohar from High Touch here a few months ago, and we talked about that. But now that's taking a new turn, right? How is that moving? Where are we now?
Well, first, when CDPs came out as standalone, vendors, we were, they took the data and they put it into their database, and you could activate from the CDP, and it was, quite similar to other SaaS tools for marketing and advertising that you would have. Now, there's been a rise in the data warehouse, and in fact, when I was building CDPs, we had this challenge. I was building in-house, I guess now they're called composable. Back 2018, 19, they were called in-house. So I was building CDPs for brands, and we still had the question of, okay, well, where is the source of truth live? Where is the foundation, the gravity of this data going to go? And as the data warehouses like Snowflake and Databricks and other have started to grow for businesses, and they've started investing in cloud infra for data warehouse, it makes sense that that's where it needs to live. It can't be, I can't have this table about my customers living somewhere else. It makes no sense, really. It has to live in my data warehouse. That data also, by the way, is valuable for use cases besides marketing. So it needs to be accessible to the entire organization, and it needs to be governed, it needs to be secure. And so that is why I became excited about the composable composability, and the cloud infra providers like Snowflake gaining a lot of traction with brands, because what was most exciting for me about that was being able to build applications on top of that, which I've done, and which kind of my new company Neuralift AI does, as well, as we see the application on top of that data set. So that becomes much easier to do with the data in the data warehouse. Now, of course, there are challenges with zero copy and things of that nature, having this data in multiple places. But for me, those data warehouse is an evolution, and cloud is an evolution that helps brands, and allows real AI, and that's kind of where we're now, to be built on top of. And so that's in a secure manner, by the way, because everybody worries about the security when it comes to AI and privacy. So.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you need the volume, you need the muscle
Hmm.
for AI. So let's say, is it correct to assume that it was we had marketing in control, so the CMO would decide when it was about buying a CDP, and then as the cloud keeps on conquering new areas, and now you've got a cloud-based warehouse or lakehouse, then IT is back in control, and now they have this purchase decision. This is very important. Who pays? Who pays the bill, right? If IT is taking over, and now it's about Snowflake or Databricks, then the decision is taken away from the CMO because there's other use cases, and now the CMO has to sort of approve a budget for something that sits on top of what the IT guy or CIO has acquired. Is that happening?
Yes, so I think there are definitely challenges in the market with that. I would IT is responsible for the compute costs. I think there's no question about that at the end of the day. There's a bill coming to the CFO. He or she will see the bill. It will go to the CTO. And they will say, how can we reduce this? There are there are challenges there that live with IT, and of course, the data and security lives with them as well. But the use cases and the applications have to extend out throughout the organization. So, I mean, and marketing is just one place for those. I think marketing is on the cutting edge or leading edge of this because acquiring customers and growing your customers is the core lifeblood of any business. But you can imagine in the future there'll be other use cases around merchandising or product development, R&D, innovation, right, where other teams will have to have applications or want to have applications to solve their own use cases on top of this data. So it only makes sense that business operations folks will become more and more important in the cloud and cloud infra decisions, uh, and um, and getting the value out of the cloud infrastructure that's there. And I think the clouds know this. My conversations with people kind of high up at some of these hyperscalers, they're aware that they can only go for so long selling through to IT. At some point, if the business side and the business operations side are not receiving the value that they've invested, return on investment from these tools, that's a risk, existential risk for their business. And so because of that, again, applications are really important as the next level to help the growth of all of these cloud infrastructure and database, data warehouse, marketing cloud companies. They have to have the apps.
Yeah, very good. So then now that we want to finally deliver value, right? Activation comes in, right? And the marketing team wants to, that's what they need. That's sort of the business case that I see.
Yep.
So now data is in this one place. I could already be querying that data in a way that I could never do before in search of insights and planning and so on. But I can also activate. How do you see activation as an evolution from the original CDP
Well, I
to
see.
today?
Yeah, great question. I see activation as a problem that's already been solved. Even in the legacy CDPs, there were SDKs and ways to activate into different channels. Now in data warehouse, we have reverse ETL, activation connections, and even the clouds themselves are developing quite quickly in data sharing and data collaboration. We see clean room as a recent, well, I don't know, more depends on your timing. If you want to call it recent, but I would say developing technology for data collaboration amongst brands. So I think that, and this is one of the great advantages of cloud, is the ability to collaborate together. Two brands can bring their first party data together in a privacy preserving way. They can, run a match table and figure out what shared customers they have, what shared attributes they have around their customer base. They can partner in advertising and marketing and promotions, all kinds of things. I think this unlocks incredible value, and again, kind of only possible in the cloud, and in the marketing and data cloud. So that to me is very exciting development.
So if I can structure this well in my head for starters, so we've got activation that the way I've known it for a few years, where you go straight from the CDP into the media or the social media platform, the walled gardens, right? For example, that's like a very straightforward one. So I send data looking for example, custom audiences, and I can just look for that something that is similar to whatever I've been putting together around those IDs, those identities. And then a new one, which is more, I think it's probably very hot these days, is that from the CDP, I can push that into a data collaboration environment, as you say, in the data clean room. We've had InfoSum here, or from a legal perspective, so
Yep.
the DPO, and we've had Decentric from Switzerland as well here, also their DPO. But looking at that idea, so now you've got your data, and you've got a publisher like a Disney or a social media platform or an Amazon, and they have their clean room, and they let you send your data into that space. How is that evolving now? So first party data on your end, first party data on their end. As we used to talk about second party data at least 7 years ago, in the years of the Adobe co-op, if that was ever a thing. But we would always end up saying that was really, with regards to the consumer, third-party data, in the sense that the consumer has agreed to sharing data with two separate parties, but they never knew that they were going to deduplicate her, right? So how do you see that today? How is that? How is this? What is the status today of data collaboration?
Well, it's slow but growing. I think that the tools and technology, and I think mostly the demand side, so the brands themselves who are advertising have not yet fully adopted um, data collaboration. I think probably we need it will happen over time. It's destined to happen. It's like the year of mobile. It will happen eventually. There will be the
Yes,
year.
yes, very
There
good.
will be the year of data collaboration, the year of clean room. I think it will be driven by some of the larger consumer brands, who have hundreds of millions of customers as well. And so scale is important here as an issue. And on the media side as well, it's being driven by scale. So of course, scale always matters for these types of things. I also think there probably needs to be some evolution of use cases besides purely display advertising. And I think that will happen. I think partnerships is an incredible use case that has not quite been done. But when I see, a streaming company offering,
Yeah.
a discount with a huge retailer, in a partnership, that I would think in the future, those partnerships will be done based on kind of a data overlap or a match table that gives them insights into, are these the right customers for us? Are these the people we want to market to, with some more analysis and real kind of hard metrics behind that. So I think it will evolve. Um, it's the future, and but it's just like anything with data and data infrastructure, it will take some time.
So you've been commenting on a few things. I need to remember you're very prolific. I don't know if you're so prolific, but you've got very good tweets out there. So
Thank you.
at least they made me think. So you've been publishing a few things. One of them, I'm thinking, there's this idea, right? This is my own interpretation of it. So there's the idea of attention plus conversion, and how I can merge audiences on attention. For example, Netflix, who just announced these deals with data clean room technologies, and I could send my data into Netflix to better target audiences on the Netflix ad offering. However, you could already do that directly in environments where attention can really bring conversion into them, and you've been commenting on that as well. So Pinterest and TikTok cutting a deal with Amazon so that you can buy on Amazon without abandoning their environment, the social media platform. How do you see the evolution of that? is everything going to move into the attention environment?
No, everything's going to move into the Amazon environment.
Yeah, exactly.
That's and that is because of first party data and data privacy and consumer trust and Amazon's relationship with consumers and the data that they have on consumers. And by the way, the willingness of consumers to share that data with Amazon in exchange for value, right? In exchange for getting my whatever I order here the same day or the next day or low price or the incredible selection that Amazon has of products. So there's a value exchange where I give my data to Amazon and I don't have a problem with it. And I trust Amazon, probably one of the most trusted brands in the world. So I think that is really a story about. I liked your story. I think it's mostly a story about Amazon, who gets a lot of consumer attention when it comes. In fact, the amount of search for I think Amazon has always been one of the largest search engines, which is people don't really write about, but in terms of total queries, people are looking for things. So you have that intent there. On the flip side of that, what I think is interesting, most interesting on conversion, and I'll stick to conversion because nothing against you, but I hate attention as a metric. I think it's really hard to measure attention. And why are we creating metrics that are becoming more difficult to measure? We should be creating metrics that are less difficult to measure. And one of those is conversion. So we know when someone has purchased something or I like to use conversion broadly, right? It's an event that has happened. Something's happened. A conversion can be conversion to, look at a product page. And I think what's exciting there that's happening now is that we have these conversion APIs. So we have these APIs that are going back into the data warehouse, and they are providing conversion data from channels, as you mentioned, like TikTok, like Snap, like Meta. And now in my data warehouse, I could bring conversion data in. And oh, by the way, I have my customer 360. I have my first party data about my customers there. These are now new events and really valuable events that I can start to get some information on. I'm not sure we're quite at the level of detail where we would like as a brand to, in the conversion API, but it's a beginning of closing the loop. And that now becomes very powerful because if we can do that, we're starting to build in closed loop systems, which is where optimization algorithms prosper and do really, really well in learning, continuing to learn as more and more data is collected. So this is a really exciting place for the cloud. It's exciting because the whole story is a first party data story and a privacy centric story. And I think it's an exciting time for brands who are in the cloud or looking to move into the cloud data warehouse or marketing cloud, as they like to call it, um, to to start to leverage all this investment they've made in data and analytics, which is one of the things I see all the time, and hear from CMOs and others. Like we've invested all years and hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars into this customer data, and we've yet to really see ROI from it. And so, but I strongly believe with AI that is coming, and those investments will come well worth it.
So talking about conversion APIs, those are quite controversial because we've been able to send data back about conversions, for example, in the Google environment, right, in the Meta environment, but they need to be tied to some sort of identity. And that's been a challenge. And there's people that really complain that there was never awareness or consent. I've got my own reservations about how consent is handled, whether it's even required, but that's for the end. So before we get to that, the fact is that there's a recent lawsuit that I heard about through one of your tweets, which is very recent, and that is a lawsuit in California against Segment, so Twilio, which acquired Segment. And Segment is at least used to be the most popular CDP back in the day, or at least with SMEs. And so now you've got a customer data platform that is being sued because they collected all these signals. And what we are being told is that people that were using the apps. In this case, the app that was being used was Calm. Calm out of the UK. It's funny. It's all paradoxical. So Calm is packed with, of course, event collection.
Yep.
It's got the SDK,
Yep.
so it's collecting all of these events, and these events pertain to your behavior on the app, so that you can improve, performance on the campaign and so much more. And you mentioned, I believe you mentioned, you need to tell me that maybe some risk could have been averted with the idea of zero copy that is evolving these days. I don't know if you said that. You mentioned this in connection with the zero copy. How do you see that
Well,
challenge?
I've been on a little rant about zero copy. So the timing of this was very relevant to my own thoughts and a number of conversations I've had about the challenges of zero copy for brands and for data fidelity and so this kind of touched a nerve for me. I think, really this is a disclosure problem, probably with the calm, kind of terms of use and not disclosing that Twilio was collecting data and what they were doing with it. And so I think that that's probably an issue for a lot of apps. And I think, the issue becomes, and we see this in ad tech quite a bit, is, data gets kind of sent from here, or daisy chain, they used to call it, or they still do maybe in ad tech, right? It goes from, and this is third-party data now. I'd have a cookie and it goes from this person to this person to this person and say, hey, do you have an ad for this person? Oh, no, do you have an ad for this person? And it would go down and hop, you know, to 30, 40, 50 different ad tech companies to see if they had an ad. And so to some degree, apps, obviously that's what, nobody wants that to happen. Consumers don't want that to happen. It's poor technology. Um, maybe publishers want that to happen to be able to sell as many ads as possible. But generally speaking, it's there's latency that occurs when you do that. It's just a poor it's a poor digital experience, and so and it should be stopped for multiple reasons. So I think there's some challenges with that and doing things zero copy, and which gets me even into the idea of like, well, how do you do real time anything with zero copy, right? How do you, if I'm building apps on top of data warehouse, and how often is it being copied over, and and where does data ownership and governance and the integrity of my data rest? The point of the marketing cloud is to have one centralized, right, place where we know we can govern, and we know is always up to date and is the source of truth, right? Where's the source of truth? If you're copying from a vendor, CDP database into a source of truth, who's copying who? It's if your activations take place in your vendor CDP, then you have to move it back. And so these are, I think, the challenges and issues, and why I think CDP and zero copy. I think zero copy is a great example of how Martech and first party data has evolved past these SaaS-based solutions into marketing cloud. And now, instead of some centralized vendor building features, we have marketing cloud where we're building apps, or we're installing apps from a marketplace. And so that just is better for
Yeah.
data governance, security. Although people will say, oh, well, there's all these, the clouds aren't immune to, issues. Of course, nobody's immune to security issues. I just saw a crazy John McAfee video where he said, there's no such thing as encryption. So, we could, everybody's vulnerable. We know that, but at least we have, at least we don't have our data all over the place. I think that's, again, kind of a core issue for security and privacy.
Very good. So take that into AI and into Neuralift. So the first thing, something you said, the way I see that, in a way, it's like Martech is taking over from Adtech. In Martech, you've got first party relationships, but also all of these suppliers, from a legal point of view, they're what we call data processors, right? From a GDPR sort of point of view, or just suppliers, just vendors. So that means that you will not be suing Twilio. You will be suing Com in a MarTech world because they take responsibility. In an ad tech world, everyone is a data controller from a legal point of view. So as we move into the MarTech space, and is the, whoever owns the relationship with the customer is the one that takes responsibility for all of these suppliers, then yeah, you wouldn't see that. But then I see this additional challenge. So now you have that powerful first party data, all of the events are collected, everything is more secure, is happening on the advertiser side or on the publisher side. But now you need to grow your business. And now I always believed that we could eventually do much more with less data, thanks to things like machine learning. So how are you approaching this, and what are you doing today?
Yeah, so what we're doing today is actually using the customer 360, or this table that has been collected and is being collected. Actually, we can do any table. We could use an analytics table or a transactional table. It doesn't matter. But typically, these are in the marketing cloud or data warehouse. I mean, we've actually had some brands that it's still on someone's laptop in a CSV. So I want to be careful about data maturity. But what we do is take that data and create intelligence and insights about customers. All this data is being collected for a reason. The reason is to know our customers better. The reason to know our customers better is that so we can be better marketers. We know what's relevant to them. That makes us more efficient in our marketing. That means that the money that we spend has higher returns. Our conversion rates go up. Our click-through rates are higher. So we're getting more for our money, and we're acquiring customers and more customers at the same cost that it might be, for if we weren't as efficient or as relevant. So this is, the marketing flywheel now, and how to create that. And that starts with, kind of top-down strategic understanding of who your customers are. And that's what Neuralift AI is built to do. We do allow you to zoom in more tactically and understand at different levels, specifically what's relevant to different groups of customers. But what I've always felt has been missing in the marketing space from first-party data and customer data is the strategic lens. The kind of the customer dashboard, if you will, of like, who are my different types of customers? What do they like? Why do they like this? How are they performing based on what we've done so far? And what should we be doing to improve our performance? Those are the questions that Neuralift AI is built to answer using AI, and which is very different than what's been going on the last decade. And I think this is, to some degree, about the tools and about databases that have been built on them. Uh, what we've seen and what I've seen firsthand is that everything becomes really tactical when you start to build anything using SQL. It's just quite simply you're minimizing the data that you have. You're introducing bias by saying this is an important feature, this is an important feature, this is an important feature. Okay, those are 4 important features to build a segment of customers out of, maybe 300 or 400. Well, how do you know those are the most important ones, right? This is a question that AI is perfectly suited to answer. What are the most important features for you? And where are the patterns in the data that are important to discern the different groups of customers that you have, and how they'll respond, and how they have responded and will respond to your marketing. So again, AI is great. It's been built to solve and to do all of this. And with LLMs now, we have the ability to provide not only just the calculations and processing and analytics and metrics, which are hugely valuable and important, but the reasoning and explainability to marketers to say, hey, this is why this metric is not performing as you might have hoped. This is why this group of customers is performing a certain way, and another group of customers is performing a different way. And so that's really helpful, because with marketing, it's always been the struggle between data analytics and actually operations and tactics, strategies, tactics, and what we're putting out to our customers, what we're offering them, how we're pricing, all of those, what channels we use, how much we spend in those channels. That's been the challenge, is making that data actionable and having it drive, and first being able to understand how we're performing, and then being able to use it to optimize performance. And so that's what we've built Neuralift to do.
Very good. Sounds really good. The thing is, we've been thinking like machines for too long, right? So you're talking about SQL, and that's exactly it. We are approaching people, right, in their own terms, and then in our systems, we start applying all of these rules, and then we stop being human centric. So I think an advantage of LLMs as well, because they think in language,
Yeah.
they can translate that into a human centric taxonomy that makes any sense, meaning that as per Wittgenstein, if we think in language and humans are, how you think in words,
Mhm.
LLMs can bring us back to that. And instead of me querying a system as if I were a robot, I can now get some insights from what I gather, which are more human centric, because it's going to tell me, based on all those signals and data, unstructured, structured, all of that together that we managed to collect, within my own space, so I have my own first party relationship, and I can really make that compliant, and I can really make that transparent, and then I can get these insights that I could never get, so that I can go after these audiences in the market. That's for then. How you go after them in the market is another story, because then there's a whole competition issue. But I will spare you that
Yeah, no, but we
debate.
like to say what Neuralift AI does is humanize your data, because marketing is a human, and this is a human endeavor. We want to relate to people based on their human needs. We For better or worse, we play on their emotions to try to convince them that what we have as a brand is valuable and important to them. And so we'll help them. These are all human traits, and marketing is ultimately, and advertising is a human and psychological way to talk to people. And so data in and of itself is not enough. Numbers are not enough. Metrics are not enough. And I think we're on the precipice of a very exciting time now, being able to translate all of that into language, and understand the emotional impact of those things. And just like I said, humanize the data. To us, that's a concept we talk about all the time, and kind of can redefine what's possible with analytics and prediction and marketing and advertising and all these things. So it's an exciting time, I think, in the space, and I think AI is going to really have huge impact on the results of marketing, and make it incredibly more efficient. Really help consumers. Will be the things you see will be way more relevant to you, way more helpful, and you'll be which is what marketing and advertising is supposed to do, actually, right? Make you aware, help you solve a problem. Maybe you didn't even know you had the problem, but make you feel a certain way. So it's exciting.
Very, very interesting. Last question. Do you think consent should be the way to keep collecting more data and building these profiles and the duplicated audiences? How do you see that, and where should consent happen?
So I think consent should be easy for people. And so, it should not be every time I go to a website or in an app, or, as a consumer and someone that is, somewhat knowledgeable about technology. I think consent should sit with browsers that I choose to use. So I'm trusting whether it be Chrome or Firefox or Safari. I will trust the browser. So I think other companies, I think that we talked about Amazon. I would not have a problem as a consumer. I already am, consenting to Amazon to have information about me. I know when I go do a Google search that they're getting information about me, obviously. So I think that there are, you know, I think consumers should be able to choose from a few of the platforms, or any or all actually, where they want to give consent to, and then that should be allowed to be that consent should allow to be controlled downstream, through the other interactions I have. So if it's on my phone, it should be through Apple, and then the apps I have should be able to Apple should be able to control the consent and permissions, and they actually do a good job of that, right? You can go into a specific app on your phone and say if you want to share data, if you don't want to share data. So that kind of hierarchy for me as a consumer works much better, and I think is the way, rather than, nobody likes to micromanage anything, let alone
Yeah,
where I've
exactly.
consented and what I've consented to, and and then of course, it's consenting for a period of time, so I'll have to reconsent, and this is a mess, I think, for consumers. Let alone, let's say, I always like to look at everything through the consumer lens first. Unfortunately, they get we always tend to be so focused on looking at our own belly buttons in technology, and forget that there are people out there, humans, and if we can make things easier for them, it will make things easier for us.
Jonathan, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Okay, that's all for today. Please follow the Masters of Privacy channel on LinkedIn if you want to find some interview transcripts, cheat sheets, and other useful resources and surprises every now and then. On top of that, episode notes and other feeds are available on mastersofprivacy.com. Thank you for listening.